Hi guys, I'm Aussie Villain and I do daily Football Manager content, so if that's something you're into, make sure you are subscribing and liking the video and all that kind of stuff. But today we're going to have a look at getting started, a bit of a tutorial on you've got your new job. What do you do to start things off? Let's go see what I do, and it seems to work for me not too bad. So the first thing, obviously, you want to do anyway is check your squad. Now, this is a mid-season. I will confess, with Chelsea, I was playing as Chelsea during the beta period, and yeah. So this is my team, and the best way I think always to sort it is just to sort through by position, so you can get an idea of who you have to play what position, how much depth you have. Now, another thing you can do to do this is the squad plan, and we'll get to that in just a second. But if you have a quick look down, this is just the general info tab here that I've got open. It gives you a pretty good overview, to be honest. You can see the type of player that you have, so not just whether they're a centre-back, but what sort of centre-back they are. You can get an idea of the current ability and also potential ability, which is always quite important as well. You can see the wages, if somebody is on wage, if someone's wage to star ratio is off, it gives you an idea of that. And then you can also get an idea of transfer fee as well. So, you know, you can get, if you need to make a little bit of quick money, 160 million for Casado. If you can get it, wouldn't be a bad deal, I don't think. But anyway, so this is it. It gives you an idea of who is where, what they can play, what positions. Gives you a good base, I think, to build off of, and you know, of what you need to do to move forward. Now, one thing I would also suggest that you do is go and have a look at youth teams and reserves. So that's down development center, under 21s. Depending on the team, you could have reserves, under 21s, under 18s, or any one of those. If you go to squad again, if we are on well, this is just on reports, which actually doesn't work too bad for youth teams actually. You can check, and if you want to check and see if there's anybody hiding in the reserves. Now, we have a lot of players out on loan, obviously, so you can check and see if there's anybody that is on a bit of too much money to be sitting in the reserves. But Chelsea just have a lot of players everywhere, don't they? But reserve reports is good for this because it'll give you an idea again of, and you can even buy full reserves and that. Just search by current ability or by, and if you wanted to as well, you could go to filters here, and you could filter out anybody that is on that is out on loan. On loan or trial. There we go there. So that gives you an idea of who's actually at the club. And so you might, now some of these guys are down here for match practice, but you'll get an idea of, if there's anybody here right now that could, you know, be useful for you in the first team. And I usually find there's one, at least one. So yeah, that's good to see. And then also potential. You may not need to go and sign a centre-back because you've got this guy here who's 17 and a 3.5-star potential player. Maybe you do want to sign somebody, but he might be okay. And under 18, similarly, if you go and have it on report, and you'll get an idea here again of who is a very high potential player, who is, you know, ready to come into the team right now. Now again, there's some players here that were just down for a bit of match practice. But yeah, it helps you sort of longer term squad building if you know what's coming through. And like I say, you'll probably find somebody that could be useful for you, you know, if not straight away, then certainly by the end of the first season. Now, Squad Planner is just another decent way to do this. It gives you an idea, and this is new for this version of the game, sort of the average star rating as well for the in that position. So that gives you another way to see which is a stronger position compared to not so strong. Then you can see here depth as well. So you see, you know, got 4 first-team goalkeepers, 7 centre backs, whatnot. Now, if you click on each one here, it'll bring up that particular position. Now you can see Reece James here, not yeah, he's first choice in another position, not really a centre back in my personal opinion as well. So it gives you yeah, an idea, and you can click up and down to move players around, you know, where you see them in the pecking order. We don't want that coming up every time. Click that, it gets rid of it if you know what you're doing. Yeah, so that's another good way to see that. And then you can do for next season as well, you know, because you may have players coming out or coming back from loan, I should say, or signings that are coming in January or in the summer. So this is again a good way to get that in. And then you can also add players in here. So if you know someone's coming in, or if you know equally somebody's going out, just hit that, gets rid of them, and they're not in the squad planner for that particular position. Or another reason you might do that. Okay, so again, say up here with Reece James, he's my right back. I don't want him playing centre back. If I'm desperate, he could, but I don't want to plan for him to be there. So you can just take him out of that position, and that solves the problem as well. And you can do another season again, so the season after next. So you're getting sort of 2 seasons down the line, and this is when you'd start to add players from your under 21s, under 18s coming in that you're expecting in a season or two's time to be first team ready. So yeah, the squad planner, it's a good tool, especially initially when you don't really know who all your players are yet, to sort of map out your team and where you want players to be in future seasons as well. Now, something else you can do, you want to do to start off with is just see if there's any players that could be retrained. Now, typically, and I'm sort of picking on Enzo Fernandez here, not because I necessarily would do this to him, but central midfielders can make quite decent fullbacks. So if we click here for a fullback, it's not actually going to bring up the preferred positions, unfortunately. Typically, if a central midfielder can tackle, they've got decent positioning, they've typically got good work rate. If they can dribble and cross as well, it's often worth retraining them to be a right back or a left back, depending what foot they are. If you want to play with inverted wing backs and full backs, again, they'll be perfect for that because they can come in and pass in midfield. So yeah, it's worth looking at seeing if there's somebody who could be retrained, particularly if you're a smaller team and you don't have the budget to be able to just go and buy yourself a new right back if you want one. Looking to see if players can be trained to play in different positions can be a useful thing. Now, to do this, you go to development, training, the position playing here. So in this case, right back, full back, whether you want to be attack, support. Typically, I like to attack. So typically, I'd like to do attack. And you can see here, it starts to highlight the key positions. And he does look like a very decent attacking right back, doesn't he? So, yeah, that is the way you would do that. And then you can also, you could do your inverted fullbacks or wing backs or whatever sort of fullback you like to play with. And it's by no means limited to this. It could be anything. So you could have strikers retrained as wide players or vice versa, centre backs as midfielders or vice versa. But it's worth having a look, as I say, particularly if you don't have the money to just go splash the cash and buy new players. You can often retrain to fill a position for yourself. So all that being the case, now you need to pick a tactic, don't you? So this is the way that I've been playing this way, or I usually have two tactics on the go. Now, essentially they're the same thing, just obviously tweaked this, depending on how I want to set up against a particular team. One thing you do want to do is ideally not have players doing jobs like they can't do. So for example, there's not really a good example there, is there? But you don't want a centre back who can't pass the ball playing as a ball player. Equally, someone like, say, Colwell, he doesn't want to be a no-nonsense defender. He's better than that. So don't underplay players either, which isn't typically a problem. But you don't want to ask them to do something that they can't do. But this is where you need to find out what sort of players you have and the best way that they're going to all fit into a team. And sometimes it can be difficult because you might have a situation where you have two really good players in the same position. Then you get the Gerrard Lampard thing, which is a dated reference now probably, as to who plays. Do you try and squeeze them both in, or do you have to sit one on the bench? And that's obviously the fun of it, isn't it? Now, if you wanted to set up a new tactic, the plus sign here, create new tactic. You can pick out the way you want to play, whether it's so a fluid counter attack. Choose your formation. It'll sort of walk you through it to a point, and and then you can go from there. So that's how you would set up a new tactic. And I will do a separate tutorial on this as well. So yeah, make sure you set up a tactic and start training it in pre-season. Now, something else that's definitely worth doing is clicking on the staff tab here and just getting an idea of if you have any staff positions that are unfilled. Now, I typically don't, like the data analysts and that, I typically don't bother with them. Technical directors, I don't usually bother with as well. If they're there, I'm not going to sack him and pay them out, but probably won't re-sign him to a new contract either. But it's if you've got the money to spend, often it's worth doing it. And you can see here we've got 2 performance analysts that I could get in. We've got 4 recruitment analysts that I could get in. Medical staff is pretty much full up, and you can check for the youth teams as well. To do this, development center staff, under 21 staff. So you can see we could get 2 sports scientists in for our under 21s, and then you can check the under 18s. And again, we could get some more coaches in if we wanted to, some physios and whatnot. So I haven't paid much attention to that, have I? Do as I do. I do as I say, not as I do. But yeah, so that's always worth doing, because at the end of every season too, because I always find at least one staff member leaves, or I don't know that's left, or didn't mean to leave, or whatnot. So it's definitely worth checking at the end of beginning of every preseason, I should say. So then we come to scouting. Now, you probably will want to set up scouting in some way, shape, or form. Now, typically, I like to just let the chief scout do it. I get the best chief scout I can, and then sort of hand over responsibilities to them. Now, responsibilities, it comes under staff. If we just go back here to responsibilities, overview, this is just a very, very lot of type, isn't it? So don't look at that. It'll hurt you. So you hurt your eyes. So you can go here and you can go to staff, and then you can go down. You can just delegate what you don't want to do, or you can take control of what you do want to do. So typically, I like to be in control of a lot of things, but scouting, for example, isn't one of them. So I assign the chief scout to do that. I like to handle the scout meeting so I can see what is going on. But if I wanted to take control of this, obviously take control. That's my job again. And yeah, you can do this with everything. So contracts, everything. So this is again probably worth going down when you first take over and just seeing that you're doing what you want to do, and anything you can't be bothered with, make sure you have a staff member that's taking over it. But back to the scouting center. So the way that this would work, this is sort of just your overview here, obviously. You would go to, we'll have a look at the scouting center. So these are your scouting reports that I like to keep an eye on and do myself. So yeah, this is kind of what it does, and this looks like a very good goalkeeper I'd be interested in signing, actually. So we'll add him to shortlist. Very good job. But let's stay focused here. So recruitment focus. Now you can add new recruitment focuses here. Now this is, as you saw, I had the chief scout setting things up. But to do this, you would just create a recruitment focus that you can either do by position, or you can do, if you just click any position for from tactic here, you can then go and scout, competitions, nations, regions, continents, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to set it up yourself, then by all means, that's how you would do it. Or if you're like me and just can't, I don't want to say can't be bothered. I do like the scouts finding players, but I just want them to take care of it for me and give me the exciting results. So yeah, that's how you would set that up. And then you can see the updates here. So for players in England, for the England search, we can see here the players that the scouts have come back to me with. For the Premier Division, likewise through Spain, Netherlands, France, Brazil, and then of course Finland, because why wouldn't you scout Finland with all those other countries? Sometimes they do strange things, scouts. They're not always all there, are they? But that's how you would do that. And then you can see here there's the completed scouting that's been done as well. So yeah, that's how you would do that. And you can see here there's the recommendations, there's the near misses, and then there's the ones that are being scouted right now as well. And then you would, or the way that I like to do it, actually we'll do this here for scouting assignments. So this is what all the scouts are actually doing. So you can keep track of who's doing what. And then you would also have match and team analysis. Now, I always think it's definitely worth scouting next team. Just make sure that that's happening. You want to make sure you're getting the scout report for the upcoming team. And then if you have any priorities, you can do that there. And then shortlist, always add players to the shortlist. Now I like to tick this box up here to keep scout reports up to date. I want to make sure that the scouting report that I'm getting is the most recent and accurate one. I don't want to be signing someone based on a scouting report of 3 seasons ago. So yeah, that's what I do there. Interested in someone that's interested in a permanent deal, that's ticked. If you just want to see who's on the shortlist, then tick nothing. Doesn't mean they'll be interested in joining you necessarily, though. Or if you're looking for a player on loan, these are the guys that be interested in joining you on loan. So that's that's how you would then set that up. But again, we'll do a separate scouting tutorial to help you go into a little bit more depth and all that. Next up, you want to do some training, set up some training. So this is the training tab here. Now, just a quick look. If you go to training calendar, you can see what is upcoming. You can add things. One thing you will want to do is the day after a game, you've got to click on it, match preparation. You've got to actually manually put in match review, but it's definitely worth doing. But for whatever reason, the assistant or whoever you've got doing the training, or even if the default ones won't actually have it in there, which is always a little bit annoying. So you can go ahead a couple of months here, and you can see what you've got upcoming in terms of training. Again, we'll do a separate training tutorial, but I did want to point out a couple of things here. The first one is mentoring. Make sure that you've got your mentoring group set up. It's a really good way, particularly for young players. If you've got somebody who's maybe unambitious or low determination, things like that. If you go and stick them in a mentoring group with people that are ambitious, sort of the opposite, what you want them to become, or even just better professional players that have better attitudes, the mentoring can be a very good way of getting average mentality players into, or bad mentality players into a mentality that might actually mean they become something of use for you. You can just add players here, and that will do that. You can ask the assistant to do it, which is what I typically do, and then just make little tweaks. Or if you need to, if you have someone in the youth teams that you want to come in and be mentored, but still play in the youth team, if you go into units here, add a player from the under 18s or the under 21s. You can see there, add them to a particular unit, and once they're in here, they'll then be available for you to add to a mentoring group, whereas they won't be unless they're training with the first team. The other thing here is coaches. Now, we've wanted to already said make sure that everything is filled up in terms of coaching staff. Now, you can see here we've got a couple of guys or a couple of positions where it's heavy or very heavy workload. Ideally, you want to avoid that, and the way you would avoid that, the way I do it is I'll have sort of 1 or 2 coaches that are just there to help with workload basically. So you can see here, if we tick, then the workload goes down, and that is how we do that. Now it looks like we've maybe a coach short here on possession technical, but yeah, this you can see here. So there's plenty of others, and we can just take this guy off and do it that way perhaps. But what you basically want to have is as high a star rating down here with, I always think, average or lower workload. So that's what you're aiming for. Whether that's always going to be possible, you can try and obviously sign more coaches, and it might be if we were to get 1 or 2. You can see here we've got under 21 coaches. If we get 1 or 2 other under 21 coaches in, then this is probably all going to solve itself. And of course, one new thing for this version is the set piece coaches. So make sure you're getting yourself a set piece coach in as well. Now, something that is important to check as well is what do the board and the fans expect of you, so you can get an idea here of not only what do they expect, but also how are you doing with that. Now, being that this is just a beta game, and I'm sort of learning the game a little bit myself, obviously, for the new one. So yeah, I mean, I've not done a particularly great job on some things, but they're satisfied with what we've done so far in sort of on the field. So that's obviously very nice to see. Now, the board, it'll sort of show you here what, anything that you've asked them, and if you want to make board requests, you do so here. And again, we'll do a separate thing on this, but if you wanted to upgrade facilities, I don't know why you want to downgrade facilities, cost I would assume, but yeah, this is where you would do all of that. Ask for a new contract, stadium expansions, or new stadiums, and then adding staff as well. That's where you would do all of that, and the board will get back to you. So that is that. Yeah, this just gives you sort of a brief overview. And if you want to check what the fans think of you, then you would tick the supporters box here. You can see the rivalries that they consider to be important. So you want to try and obviously win those if you can. The favoured personnel that are still at the club, you probably want to think twice before moving them on. And then you can see the finances there as well. But I'll show you where the finance screen is. You can probably get a better idea of that from there. But one thing that you want to just keep an eye on here is this. They have a low level of influence on the board. So that the board basically doesn't care what they think. So in this situation, it's more important that the board's happy with you than the supporters. But if you have supporters that have a high level of influence on the board, you're going to want to keep them happy, because if they get unhappy with you, they sort of you see it in English football all the time, where they start protesting, and the board can sack a manager just to shut the fans up. So you want to make sure that if you do have supporters at at your club that influence the board and that the board listen to, keep them happy. Just keep them happy. It just makes your life a little bit easier. So yeah, so that is that. Now, finances, I did say you want to check that. This is where you would check it. Now, Chelsea, if you want to have a save to start off as you learn the game, Chelsea has been much more difficult than I thought it was, just purely based on finances. £266 million we're in debt, and I've not spent that much money. I've really not spent that much. So yeah, that is not great. Now you can see here, this also tells you where your transfer wage budgets are. Now we keep 100% of any sales that we make. So if I was to sell a player for £1 million, £1 million would come in here. If you were to sell, this was 80%, you sell a player for £1 million, you get 800 grand, so on and so forth. You would ask the board to increase that amount, and you want to obviously have 100%. If you can, and then this is your wage budget here as well. Now what you can do, if you are brand new to the game, you can move money around. So you can take money out of the transfer budget into the wage budget, so that the wage budget looks a little bit better, and so you're not overspending, which will keep the board happy, obviously. So you can see there, though, our transfer budget has gone down, but we're more or less at our wage budget now. So yeah, that's how you would move things around. It gives you an idea too. Next season's wage budget is there, and next season's minimum guaranteed transfer budget is not much. So I hope we're not planning on signing anybody this summer, Aussie Villain. So once you know what you have to spend, if you click on info here, club info, and go to facilities, and you can get an idea of how good your club facilities are. Now, Chelsea have very good facilities. State of the art, obviously, is as high as training and youth facilities can go. Excellent. Now, I'm not sure if it goes up to exceptional, if excellent is the highest, but that's still pretty good. If you are a smaller team, you want to try and upgrade these things if you can. Now, coaching, junior coaching and recruitment isn't a one-off cost. It isn't a fixed cost. It'll sort of come through monthly onto the finances. But if you were to increase the training or youth facilities, it is a one-off cost. Now, there's no way to know what it is before you actually request it, but it can be worth maybe maybe just making sure you've got quite a bit of money, because it can be, you know, millions of pounds. So you want to, or yeah, would depend, and then adjust for your currency you're using. So yeah, just be a little bit wary of that. You don't want to, you know, have worked really hard to get up to £5 million in the bank, request an upgrade in facilities, and then your £5 million is gone. So yeah, I mean, it's a good investment, don't get me wrong, but you just want to be aware of that as well. And what was the other thing I just thought of then? It's gone. It's gone, so it can't be that important. Now, one other thing, again, particularly if you are a smaller team, affiliate clubs can be huge. Now, we are obviously a big club, so we have what are called just affiliate teams. We are the senior affiliate. Strasbourg is our junior affiliate, so we send players to them, and there's no annual fee, but often there will be an annual fee. If you're a smaller team, a really good way to not only get a little bit of money in, but also get players on loan without having to pay wages for them, is request a senior affiliate team. So you would go to no, you wouldn't go there at all. You'd go back to Club Vision and to make board requests and to networking and affiliate. Now, we can't be an affiliate because we're too big. There we go. We can improve youth recruitment. So, yeah, excellent isn't the highest. There is the one above that. But, yeah, it would say here, be a request senior affiliate. Click on that. Now, for some reason, boards sometimes don't want to do it. It makes no sense. Free money, free players. Why wouldn't you? So, yeah, if you're a smaller team, definitely try and do that. And sometimes you'll get the jackpot and you'll get like a, you know, Manchester City or a Barcelona, or, you know, the actual like really good youth academy that you'll be able to get in some youngsters for free on. So definitely worth doing that. But there we go. That is getting started. Hopefully it's not been too long for you, nice and snappy. As I said, I'll be doing other tutorials on things, breaking it down to a little bit more detail. But if you've enjoyed this and you haven't yet, subscribe, thumbs up, comment on the video, and I'll see you for the next one.